Phew. There he is.
Hey, all right.
There, there you are.
Why does it come up with the video and audio red sometimes? It's so strange.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's like I never do that, so why does it do it for us?
I don't
Probably
know.
AI. Probably AI.
We've been invaded by AI.
That's what it
Too
is.
cool.
So
How you
sorry I'm
been?
a little late. I hit a rolling roadblock. You know what those are?
No. Well, I've
Rolling
heard of
roadblock.
them, but what are they?
It's on the interstate. Like they're doing they're working on it. They're raising the power lines up higher, like putting a massive pole from where there was lower ones because they're doing interstate work. So
Oh,
for this week, they're going to be doing them all week, both sides, where they a police car blocks off the exits and just makes people go like super slow until they're done, like in little spurts. And I guess it keeps gridlock from happening or something like that. But
uh,
I got to remember that this week. I made the wrong choice on how I got home.
no worries. Where were you coming from?
From downtown Lexington. I've been working at a townhouse the last 3 days on. It has a courtyard, like one of those really private courtyards,
Oh,
and
cool.
we're like enclosing their patio and doing some cool stuff. So I finished it today, which is cool.
Nice.
Had it. It was a solid Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so I'm glad to get that one done.
Cool. Cool. Is Cameron unloading the van?
He's actually mowing rental houses right now. He left. He drove separately, and he brought it with him, so he's taking the zero turn to three different places, and
That kid's nonstop, huh?
he is nonstop. I talked to her, Kelly a minute ago, and he's mowing our house. She goes, "I think I heard Cameron in the yard."
Hey, is that the first moment of the year?
No, that's the second. I think it's the
Yeah.
second. Yeah,
Mine
he's already
starts
mowed
this
the
weekend.
shop too.
Mine
Yeah, the
starts
grass
this
is
weekend.
it's bushing out now. It's been loving this weather, all the rain and cool weather.
Yeah.
It's been loving it.
Too cool.
So when did you get back from Maine?
Uh, last I was supposed to get in it last Wednesday at 10 o'clock. You don't even want to get me started. We could
Okay.
save this. I was
All
up
right,
for
we'll
30.
save
I was up
it.
for 32 hours.
Oh gosh. That's awful. What episode is this? I don't even know.
179 of the three
179.
Splinters podcast.
We're
But
missing
tonight
a splinter.
we're sans one splinter.
Only two splinters is better than three.
God, I haven't seen you guys in forever.
I know. We'll have like a reunion episode next week.
I hope so.
That'll be good.
You know,
That'll be good.
it's it's just time. It's juggling schedules is so crazy because we're all busy. We all have families, so hopefully everybody's understanding. It's just everybody's 100 miles an hour, and it's just not this podcast. Trying to juggle getting a meeting together sometimes can be really difficult because you got 4 or 5 people in that meeting, and all 4 or 5 people got to be there. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And then when you bring in other companies and juggle that, and it's like, when are we actually going to have a meeting? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Speaking of that,
my big thing is the build off right now.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you're all doing all the pre-work for that.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
It made me think of something. Beers with the Boys? Is
Yep,
that
it's Friday the 18th. Beers with the
18th?
boys of
Okay.
April
Oh,
18th. Yeah,
well,
and that starts at 7 usually. It's scheduled for 7 to 10.
is the 18th on a Friday? I didn't look.
Yes,
Okay. I didn't.
we always schedule it on a Friday,
I
right?
figured that. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, oh, this it could be a Saturday night. I never really thought about what day. I just know that when it comes up. Is it always a Friday?
Yes.
Okay. Every day's a
And
Saturday to me.
dude, dude, it's funny. My sister and brother-in-law, I don't even know what day it is anymore because they've been
I've
retired for so long.
I've been having the Sunday feeling a lot lately. It'll be Saturday and I think it's Sunday.
Mm,
And I'm like, oh
I
wait, you know?
I've been all cattywampus.
Yeah.
with days right now, and especially I just finished tax time,
Oh, yeah. When
and that is even Mary Ann was losing some sleep. I go, relax, I got all the ducks in a row. It's no problem, and it went so smooth, and it worked out absolutely perfect. She was in shock,
mm,
so it all worked out.
yeah,
Yeah, we just
we already
we had some extra stuff last year because of a couple things, but everything's cool. Oh my God, it was so good to get back in the shop. Hey, Ronnie, you reached out to me. I got to ask you a question
hmm
about the Contoro. You said I gave you some advice on
Yes. You
what
know,
was that?
I
Because I
had
don't remember.
I had a shop reach out to me and ask if I would cut, not cut. I was thinking, I'm surprised they didn't ask me to cut them as well. But they were building veneer, like high-end veneer plywood doors, and they were like, "We're going to cut them out. We'll cut them out, but will you edge band them?" Because they knew I had a Conturo, and they're like, "We just don't want to even deal with it." And that was when they were deciding whether or not they were going to take the job. And I said yes. It was like 12 doors. And so he sent me a message and he was like, "What do I need to account for the edge banding?" And I almost just
Oh,
responded back and said the
yeah.
standard amount. But I thought, does the glue make a difference in the thickness multiplied times two? And that's why I texted you, because I like
Okay.
didn't want to just say, and so they wanted to account for it when they cut them. So that's
Yeah.
why I sent you the message. I know when it goes on, it goes tight to it, but I
Yeah.
just didn't
Yeah.
know, does it add?
No, it's neg. I think I text you it's negligible. What I always calculate is I calculate the thickness of the banding, which
Double.
everybody does. There's a lot of times it makes a difference because I use 1 millimeter hardwood banding, and that's the tolerance when it comes to hardwood banding or
hmm
any wood banding with the Contoro. Because after that, if you go like 2 millimeter or 3 millimeter with wood, it snaps, it cracks.
hmm
Okay, but with so I always calculate the 2 millimeters in, and what and you got to count on each side. So that's where people lose it. It's 1 millimeter if it's a half a millimeter. It's 2 millimeter if it's 1 millimeter banding, and I
hmm
calculate that in. But I never calculate glue.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
the
go ahead.
thickness on there's a setting. The one I get questions on all the time is there's a setting for glue on how much is applied.
Yeah, mine
And
is dialed in perfect right now. Perfect.
yeah, mine is too. I always go for just regular hardwood banding. Like I do a lot of birch and maple banding. I dial it in because I use it on regular cabinet grade plywood, of course. So that is, I just leave it either one click below, below the median. But if I'm using a really porous material like particle board,
hmm
and a lot of people do, I do 2 clicks up and put
Okay.
more in there because it's really porous material.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good to know. I did I did 12 doors, four sides, so that's the 48 sides. And I
Hmm.
did one test board first just to make sure that everything was going to go okay. I just did a little short one, but I had zero mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'll even let Cameron do the last door after he helped me the whole time. Just nice to have two people, even using the cis clamp thing that's
Yep.
discontinued. Can't imagine not having that, but
Isn't that crazy?
yeah,
The Vaxis.
that's back cis. Always there's so many cis things I call it the wrong thing.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'm getting confused these days.
Yeah, so we had the back cis. Even though I had the back cis and we had those 12 doors, I was surprised how long it took to do that. How long do you think it took for us to do that? And I feel like it was super fast.
3 hours.
Okay, I'm gonna ask somebody else. You cheated. That was exactly how long it took.
Did it really? Well, see, what? Wait a minute. That's what people don't realize. You can't do all four sides at the same time.
No, you have to flip it. You have to edge both sides. Flesh it up
Then
on both
trim it,
sides. Yes.
and then go back and do two more sides and trim it.
Yes. It so you know how sometimes you're doing something, it happened to me today, and I'm like, I'm flying today. I'm killing it. I'm flying. And I look at the clock and it's 4 o'clock. And I thought it was two, you know? And same with that. I thought we are flying. We are flying on this. And it was, I think to be exact, it was like 2 hours and 50, 2 hours and 45 minutes, somewhere around that range. Cause I was just curious how long it would take. But I was a little shocked that it took that long. And I would say that
It's
my 15-minute saving was probably having Cameron because
yeah,
I was able to pass it off to him and he was keeping the stack going. It saved some
it's
time. But
it's the process. It's you do two sides,
right.
okay, two edges. You got to guillotine them,
Yep.
then trim them.
Yep.
Then I do all of that on, and then go back. Oh my God, it's just a ton of
It,
time. It's all process.
it
And
is
then you got to do the other two, clip them, and then trim them.
right. He was the guillotine person.
Yeah.
Was nice. At first, it just became a thing where I watched him do it. But then I figured out I could break the banding off for the next one while he was doing the guillotine. So we kind of got in the motion, after maybe like the fourth or fifth door where we knew no one was ever waiting for somebody else to do something. But I was a little worried because I didn't have any backups that I was going to make some kind of crazy mistake. And I told Cameron,
Uh,
I was like, he hasn't seen me use the Conturo a lot. And I told him, I was like, if you mess up with this, there's no do-overs. Like you can't that glue dries in like you probably know exactly how long. I would say 2 seconds, 3 seconds, it's dry.
yeah. Yep.
And one time I reached out and I stuck, when you just passed on the end, it was a little bit off, and I reached up to push it with my
Oh
thumb real
boy.
fast, and I got it, but the back of my pointer finger hit the back of that thing. You forget how hot that glue is. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
hot. And then it sticks to there. You can't get it
Hello.
off.
I was just gonna say that. Hello.
By the time you peel it off, it doesn't matter anymore.
Nope.
It's already done what it
Might
done,
as well just
what it
leave it.
did. Yeah, I know it doesn't. But that machine, I tell you, some people would be like, "Oh, it's overpriced. It's over." To be able to take 12 doors and edge band them, it looked like it was done by a factory. And that was including the MFK 700 process with doing the,
Mm-hmm.
flushing it with that bit. That whole process to do that, I told Cameron, I said, you've never seen iron-on banding. I said, I'm going to have you do a door once with iron-on banding where you can appreciate this machine.
Yeah, see that's the thing I've done it. I've done all of it. I've done machines, big machines, small machines, that little Freud hot air one with hot glue. I've done iron on. When I came back up here, I didn't have any of my machines. I had to go back to iron on because I was just in my shop doing stuff around the house, and then we came out with the Contoro.
Oh,
And I'm going to tell you, I have run a lot of banding with that, not just in demonstration, but all over building cabinets, all over Festool, building in the cabinet classes. God, we used to knock out. I think one year we donated 60 cabinets to Habitat for Humanity, the Restore,
hmm.
just one year because we used to knock out a lot of end user classes, but dealer classes. Um, Ronnie, I know that process inside and out. And the reason I do, it's just recently, it just hit me again. I made no mistakes whatsoever, but I ran it 96 times on those drawer faces
Right,
on the
right.
Conturo table.
Wow. And that makes me appreciate your drawers all over again. I'm just now thinking about that. How long? You have 48 drawers, you say?
No, no, no. I
How many
have
filters?
24 drawers, and that's four sides. So I did
Right.
96
Right. No,
op
96. Yeah.
96 operations on there.
That's double what we did. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you nailed that time exactly.
I
If you
know.
had asked me, I would have thought, this is me kind of simplifying it. I was like, yeah, I'm take about an hour and a half. That's what I would think
Yeah.
at first, but it does take,
I've
it's a
done
process.
I've done two sys walls. I got 18 bays at Festool to the ceiling. That's all edge banded. And I have 10 9 or 10 bays here at the Sedge tool shop.
Mm.
But I've done so much cabinetry with that thing and I just love it. Um it
And the
it's gotten
glue
to the
lasts
point
forever.
it's gotten to the point it's just such a routine in my head. I don't think about it. It's just natural. I don't know. It doesn't take up any space.
It, it's just great.
Yeah.
You just got to put pressure on that plate and let it drive itself.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I had to get used to because they were laughing at me in Germany when I was using it because there's a tendency to pull it.
It is. Yeah, that's what Cameron did when he tried it the first
Yep.
time. And I said, nope, let the machine do the work. All you're doing is just driving it. It's similar in some things to a shaper. You know,
Yep.
the shaper's doing the work. All you're doing is just keeping it from being a big, huge machine. You're just like supporting it and sending it across. Putting pressure on that plate is the key and making sure you don't mess up at the startup. I think those are the two key things.
Yep.
But oh, I love it. I love that thing. It's awesome. It's awesome. And
Yeah.
oh, just for people are saying that's too much for a tool. Let's
Yeah.
see. It comes to it. I made just under 300 an hour
Yep.
to do that. And so
Hello.
that paid for like a third of the machine, something like
Hmm.
that, a fourth of the machine.
So, what's really funny, okay, is the person who can really talk about this really well is not on this podcast tonight. And
Oh, I
he's
know.
listening right now.
It's one of his favorite tools.
It is. And what's really funny, so Ronnie, you weren't at JLC with us. And I got to tell you something. Uh, they didn't bring the Contoro there. And that's what Jason does.
He
He
loves it.
sits on that corner and he is a machine with the Contoro, the MFK. He knows it inside and out. He uses it all the time at Bent's Woodworking. But what's funny is they didn't bring it. And I had at least 20 people come up to me. I was on the CSC. I was bombed. I was packed on that corner. And it was just really funny because because I said, "Hey, Jason," across the booth, "another one." And he goes, you know, it's just people want to see that. But here's the problem and about that. You could bring everything and the booth was too small. I hate saying that. It was and we should have had it. We should have had a couple other tools in there, but it gets too crowded.
Hmm.
And this year I thought it was too crowded again. John was covered up from Shaper.
I
Yeah.
bet. I
And
bet.
that cis air with the cabinet
Hmm.
was amazing.
Yeah, I've been using it. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. Oh god, we had a discussion on that. I don't want to make this a whole Festool thing, but I got to tell you, it's just seeing is believing with that. And when we had it
Yeah.
in the cabinet, and if you've seen our demonstrations anywhere, people, the key to that was people picking it up
Hmm.
and going, "Wow, this is it." And I saw so many people just go, "Oh, I'm getting that," or they walked out with it, and
Hmm.
it was amazing. They see how it cleans, but then they were picking it up and going, "Boy, this is portable." And come to find out, there's another company that was a very expensive unit, and they went out of business, and they can't get filters anymore. So everybody was really stoked that we came out with one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm going to
So
actually use that tomorrow. I'm going to be cutting a place in a boardroom table for a media pop up, and I'm going to take it and plug it in and have it in the room, and just to be nice if anybody happens to stop in, they'll be like, "What's that?" And I'll be like, "Oh,
so
that's my HEPA air cleaner to make sure that on top of my dust collection, I'm
hey,
scrubbing the air to be cleaner than when I left."
okay, so it's a conference table.
Yes,
Is it like a slab or
it's walnut.
walnut? Is it the one you made?
Yep. Yep. I told them I wanted them to make the base before I did
Yeah.
that, just
Yeah.
because you know how things go. If they made the base and then they
Yep.
didn't see it before, I wanted them to kind of do that. And I said that way, in case we don't put it dead center, it might end up being, you know, worth doing that. And he just texted me and told me they're ready. I mean, they've had it for months, but they just finished
Oh.
the base. So I'm excited to see it,
Okay.
what it looks
So
like.
what kind of pop-ups coming in going in?
It's a flat plate on the top,
Yep.
and you hit it and it angles up.
Oh, it's a Doug Market.
No, it's an Amazon.
It's an
I
Amazon.
found it on Amazon. I think I have it. Where did I need to find out what I did with it. I've got it in somewhere in a drawer. That'd be bad. I can't do it if I. It wasn't very much. I think it was like 60, 70 range. It's not a
Dude.
real high end one. It's just a black one with, it has all of the ports.
Okay. So let me ask you, what's your process of inlaying that?
I got a template with a bearing, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to cut it first just to get the
Mm-hmm.
mass out, and then I'm going
Yep.
to have two different levels of template with double stick tape.
Very cool.
since I don't have a shaper.
Well, I'm going to tell you this is what I'm getting at. If you want
Yeah.
to see a really cool video, uh, I was brought up. There was a board meeting upstairs, TTS board meeting, and you know those beautiful tables we built with the
Hmm.
guys from this old house, Norm and
Yes.
Jim and what's his name, Tommy,
Silva. Yeah.
Tommy Silva.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. What? Oh, what's his name? And another
Yeah.
guy who just passed away, Nathan Rose. He passed away this weekend. But those were beautiful tables, and they were pieces of furniture. And I was brought up in front of everybody, kind of put on the spot. And they said, "We're tired of putting our laptops up here and then running our cords, and we have to bend over and plug them in." I go, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And they said, "We want you to put some pop-ups in here." I go, "Okay." And they thought I was going to be upset. I'm not going to be upset. It's not my furniture. So I sent in the quote of, and I ordered 4 Doug Mockett pop-ups,
Hmm.
and I think they were 450 each.
Yeah, these were like less than 100.
Yeah, these were expensive, but
Yeah.
the CEO of North America just said, "Yeah, go for it, Sedge." So all of a sudden I went, "Oh snap!
Yeah.
Here's a couple of really nice tables that I built with the guys and the boys." So you know what I did? I called Shaper, and I had Russ, two of my really good buddies, Russ and Jake, come out, and they said, "Hell yes, Edge." And we shot video for a day and a half on it. And this, but they cut it, but they didn't cut all the way through. I had to take a jigsaw, rough cut it, and then I
uh,
followed what they did with a pattern bit and finished it off with
gotcha.
a 2200.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, um, the the way they did it was so precise. They go, "Hey, listen, do you want to do this?" And I go, "Yeah." So we did a practice down in the training room, and we did it upstairs in the conference rooms, and everybody came down afterwards and just freaked out. They said, "Wow."
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
so neat.
it's a good feeling when and those guys said, "How are we gonna?" And I said, "Watch." And I brought in a laser.
Hmm.
I laid a center line. I had a couple guys from IT go, "That doesn't look like it's in the center." And I go, "Well, it is. Let's measure so you
Yeah.
guys can see it."
Trust the laser.
And they went, "Oh my God." Everybody was in shock.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but it's good to have those two guys from Shaper, and they're going to be back for the build off, I believe. So it's going to be cool.
That would be good. That reminds me of something that came up that I was going to make sure that I shared because I almost made a huge mistake on the walnut countertops that Cameron and I made.
Yeah,
I was getting them as much done ready as possible. They're on an island, so they don't have to be scribed. So I can do just about everything. There's going to be a sink in there. She even gave me the faucet. I had the sink already pre-mounted underneath.
yeah.
I already had attached and everything on the clip so that we could just carry it in and drop it in on the island. So I was so tempted to go ahead and drill the hole for the faucet, the single hole faucet and the other one, because I know where it was in the last picture of the other. And I was like, yeah, I know she wants it in the center. And for some reason, I decided, you know what? I can do a hole saw there in the house and hold the back up to it. I'm not going to make a mess. I'm just going to wait. I'm so glad I did because the sink was just about an inch deeper than the other sink. And
Ooh.
they had the vent for the dishwasher, the plumbing stack came up right in the dead center of the sink. If I had done that, I would have had an inch and a quarter hole in the countertop that had been the wrong place because I
Oh,
put it in the center where she had it, but it would have been in the way of that. So we had to end up having to put it like 2 inches to the left of the center. And it was a husband and wife moment where they both were there. And I
yeah.
had to listen and just kind of look down at the floor because her husband was like, well, that's the way it's got to be. And she's like, well, I don't want it that way. And they
Oh
went back
boy.
and forth. And I was just kind of like, I'm not involved here.
Yes.
But if I had cut the hole, it wouldn't have fit. And what do? It would have not worked. So when we left, I told Cameron, I was like, that was a good lesson to me. It's good to have things pre-finished, but if there's any doubt on something that can't be reversed, it's better to wait till you're on site. Don't assume
Yes.
too much. So that saved me. Um, but I need to post the pictures of that on Instagram. I'll post them. I took some good shots. It really transformed that kitchen. Went from like a speckly granite to the walnut, and their sides are still granite. So it really it was a black island. It's like cream cabinets around the edges with black in the middle. And it looks like when we finished, it looked like the island had been changed out too.
No kidding.
The difference in like a black island with white and black speckly kind of granite to going to the walnut on top. The walnut made the black vanity underneath look like furniture, and the granite did not. You know,
No kidding.
it was really cool. Sometimes you do something and you're like the customer wants it, you really had no say in it, and I was like, I don't know how this is gonna look in this kitchen because they already have wood floors all around. I
Yeah.
was I really like how it turned out. I'll post the pictures of it.
Yeah, man. Sometimes when I'm hearing you describe all of this, I'm going, okay, cream color, black, granite. And I'm like, I got to see pictures of it, you
Yeah,
know?
I forget I can just hold up a picture for you for the discussion thing.
Yeah. And the
Here we go.
people watching
Yeah.
on the
Oh yeah,
YouTube.
that's right. Oh, I forget about the YouTubers too, man. Yeah.
I do too.
Here's here's a picture of it.
Hot damn, is that nice?
Oh, cool. Let me set it up.
Wow.
This one's a little bit darker, but there's another picture of it.
So, have you walked into a situation where you've pre-drilled something and you see that there's been a change and you go, "Oh, shnikey."
Yes, and as you know, that just doubles the install time as you get very creative.
Yes.
I'm like, this is a bow tie for, something else that's kind of funny. It's like sometimes you don't know how much you want to share with the customer, but it's like you want to tell her, did you know that I actually followed the rule and I went through all 5 grits before I did the Rubio? And then overall, I probably have 4 hours in sanding these at least, over multiple different times. It's easily 3 or 4 hours, but I tell you, it makes a difference. It makes a difference when you skip a grit and you put Rubio on. If you look really carefully, you can see little bitty scratchy like swirlies. And I was dead set on that. I was not going to have any at all. And so I even vacuumed between the grits, like even used the thing with
Yep.
the brush and I cleaned it
Yep.
off before I used the
What'd you sand
cleaner.
up to? 180?
I went to 180.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to 180, and it was already fairly smooth before we started because we ran it through the planer. But I just started back. I went back, started at see one, what 80. I started at 80 and worked my way up, and I filled all the spots, little bitty places, hairline, little bitty knot holes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was proud of all the prep that went into it because you can sure tell when you put the Rubio on. It looks amazing. And then I used the Sheen Plus on top of that after
Oh,
it's
you
set for a
did?
day. Yeah, that's the second time I've used the
Yeah.
Sheen Plus, and it is the Sheen
Does
is
it make a
what.
difference?
Yes, that's what makes it look like it's been sprayed with a light sheen finish. That does it.
So
Um,
it's of course it's one coat of Rubio and then you wait 24 hours
yeah,
and then put the sheen.
yeah. If you wait less than 24 hours, it will take the Rubio off. Ask me how I know. It will. I was like, it's been long enough. I put it on this morning. It's enough of the chemical, whatever it is. And you probably wouldn't know it if you're using pure, but I was actually using like a mahogany and a mix of another one.
Oh,
And as soon as I put it on there, the color started coming off. And I was like, ooh, I guess I will wait 24 hours.
wow.
And so you do wait 24 hours and it's no problem at all. But you mix it, it's 1-to-3 ratio on that too. And it goes on so perfectly. Like when you wipe it off, it's just a real dull shine and
Hmm.
comes out really, especially for like countertops or furniture or anything that wasn't a floor. I think it's a nice ad.
Wow. I got a lot of questions and on Rubio from a friend of mine when he was doing his office and he goes, "There's nothing online or videos of Rubio in cabinetry." And he goes, "How do I apply it vertical?" I go, "Just rub it on vertical."
Yeah. Yep.
You
Just put
know?
it on
And he
there.
goes, "Okay." He loves it. I
Mm.
go, "God, you should do a testimonial for this, Chris, because he was really freaking out on it. He was so happy with it." And then I remembered you did that tuxedo shop with it, right?
Yes. I have videos on that. Did you say he was wanting to see a video?
Yeah, well, what I thought is do you know my miter sauce, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
I did it all the drawer fronts, all with Rubio, and I did the cherry tops all in Rubio.
Mm-hmm.
It
Hmm.
is a incredibly durable finish, and I'm
It
so
is.
impressed with it. And but I've always used just pure, and I'm sitting at my desk now. This ash slab that's like 3 years old holds up so well. It's just such
Yeah.
a good feel to it, you know?
Yeah. I gave her I know how she kind of loves to just constantly like rub all over the kitchen, like cleaning and everything. And I gave her the rest of the can of the maintenance oil. And I said,
Oh,
use this on it. If it ever's looking dull, use this. Don't use pledge and all those kind of things, like furniture polish. I said, use this. And I told her it was
so
special finish and not to use anything else but what it said. And I sent her the sheet on it.
okay, so you can use the maintenance oil on top of the sheen.
I made that up. But yeah. No, I know for sure you can because it set in my shop for a few days and it was looking a little dull. And I put water on it and I was like, it needs a little something more. And I put the maintenance oil on it and I put my big, what's it called? The big black one, I forgot the brand of the sander, the orbital sander, the
Oh,
M
Gem.
Jim. That's it, Jim. I put my gym sander on there. I mean, gym with the little white pad, and I
Yep.
just buffed the maintenance oil on, and it gave it a perfectly fresh, like almost you just washed your car type thing. And we carried it in, and I worked on it. Nothing came off like on fingers or whatever. It cured, and it was good. So I put it over the sheen, no problem. That's a good question. We'll have to find out next time I talk to Alan. Yeah. Yeah, but the maintenance oil is intended to just keep it. If it's starting to look like a dry, it like revitalizes it. And I thought about a place like that tuxedo shop. When I built all that cabinetry, I told him if it was ever looking dull to call me, and that's probably been at least like 3 years ago, I'd say at
Hmm.
least. And I haven't heard anything from him. But if he needs me to come in and do the maintenance oil on everything, I will. I'm gonna refinish it with maintenance oil. I'd be like, yeah, we need to tape up these windows, and I'm going to need at least the whole weekend.
Go in, knock it out in a half hour, and be
we,
done.
we got to push out 3 stacks of sustainers.
Yeah. Make it look good.
Yeah, yeah. I did think of something when you said we wouldn't make it too much about Festool, but gosh, sometimes you just have things that make you. And I was working at a townhouse this week, Monday, Tuesday, all 3 days,
Yeah.
um, and there was things that came up that I didn't foresee, and I had my van with me. When I'm just getting it, I was like, oh, and I always try to bring some raw wood with me. I had a big piece of mahogany, and like one was like a 1x3, and also had some plain down mahogany just from the boat because you can use that outside the same as redwood or cedar,
Yeah.
and it's so nice to be able to just pull out a table saw, that CSC, just pull that out. I had my miter saw. Between my miter saw and my little table saw setup, I was able just to like modify and knock something out that normally I would have done at my shop and then had to make basically 2 trips. But I did it on site and I made those pieces custom. And I went to go put it up, and it was like I was filling in these sections between a column where there was a 45 cut on the top,
Mm.
45 cut on the base that they just made on site. So I had to
Yeah.
match that with my strips. So I would cut it to the width. And you know how when you're gauging a miter, I gauged it off by a 1/4 inch somehow when I marked it and I cut it
Hmm.
where I needed to make the whole trim smaller than what it was. So I had to put it up on the CSC and I ripped them. And what I ripped off looked just like edge banding. And they were so perfect, I almost didn't want to throw them away. It was mahogany edge
Yeah.
banding.
Yeah.
And Cameron comes about midday when he gets out of school and he showed up on the job site. I was like, look at this. I was like, what does this look like? He goes, edge banding. I was like, I cut that on this saw, just this job site saw, perfection edge banding. And it would work. You could put that in the Conturo. It would
Oh,
bend. I was bending
a-
it. It would work. It totally
absolutely.
would. Totally would. But I was just so impressed by that and how perfect quality it was. You can cut things and then say, I'm just take a little bit more off on the job site, and it looked cool too. I mean, you sit right there in front of had it set up in front of the van. I had the whole setup, and I was just like, man, that is a system. That is a system that I have never had until recently. So I think I appreciate it so much more. You know,
Yeah.
I had my DeWalt saw, but I would just be like, I hated dragging it out. I hated even setting it up. It was like you felt like it was gonna be a rough, like not a rough cut, but it wasn't the level of precision that I need when I'm doing the kind of process we were doing. I trust the fence, you know?
Yep.
Oh,
I
so cool.
it, I was on that saw for 2 solid days at JLC, and you know what was amazing? We've That's been out for a year and a half. People are still coming up to me going, "Is this in, available in the States now?" And I was like,
That's so
"Yeah."
funny. That's so
But
funny.
here's what I'll tell you, and this is something I learned over the years. I had a gentleman come in. He's a gentleman, and he started to get in on me about you need to do this with this and what's so special about this saw, but you need to have this battery, at least hardwired, and I do precision work. And okay, he was kind of a young buck, young contractor, but he was getting. I go, do you have any Festool now? He goes, nah. I've been looking at this saw and I don't trust it. And I go, hmm. And I went through a couple things with him. He goes, yeah, but you need to have a corded version. I go, okay. And then he started getting a little irritated. I said, this obviously is not for you. We didn't make it for you. And
Mm,
he went like this and he goes, you're not trying to sell this to me? I go, not at all.
yeah.
And he looked at
It's
me and all of a sudden he just relaxed. And he goes, wow, thank you for being honest with me. And I went, listen, I can't keep these in stock.
right.
People want these. These are a perfect job site for the right
Right.
application. And what he was doing was the right application, but he couldn't get through. He just can't get through. It's cordless. And I was like, okay. But
Yeah.
I'm to the point now when somebody starts getting uppity with me, I go, it's obviously not for you in a
Well,
nice way. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but you know
you
what?
know, you probably should have a set of stickers that you hand out when you're at those shows. That it's like a separate one for like people. It is there's a sticker that has a little Festo logo, and it says, "Maybe you're just not ready yet."
Oh, would that be something?
Maybe you're just not ready yet. Because
So
sometimes you have to go through the process of finding out about other ones to appreciate why,
you're
all the
not.
reasons. Maybe you're just not ready yet.
I'm gonna bring that up at the marketing meeting next week.
That would be that would be a great one.
Oh.
Because that comes from somebody posted on the trim carpentry group on Festool. I mean on Facebook. It wasn't anything related to Festool, and somebody said, "Love them or hate them, Festool tools, go." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, okay, that's gonna start scrolling through there."
Wow.
And I would say it seems like to me, I would guess it was 20 to 30% at one time, and now it may be going higher. The people that say absolutely worth it, whatever, especially on a general trim carpentry thing. A lot of people are old school
Mm,
or whatever. They're not willing to take on new things or whatever. But I looked and I would say it was about a third were like absolutely hands down. You're either got it or you don't. That's what I feel like I've seen. But it's so funny the people that justify and said, absolutely not overpriced tools. I wouldn't trust them out of a shop. I wouldn't trust them on the job site. And I always look at it, it's not even worth responding. They're just not ready
well,
yet. They're just not
they're
ready
just not ready yet. But
yet.
here's the thing. I got to tell you guys this. I got to tell you because you know how we used to have that segment Get Bent, and we were talking
Hmm.
about comments, and there's just people out there that just have to comment and be negative.
Right.
They won't own Festool, they won't own this, but it's anything. I do a video on YouTube and someone says that's a really bad camera guy, and I'm
Yeah.
like, huh.
It
So what did
you
I
it makes you want to
always?
say it makes you want to say, what did you think about my video? You know?
Okay, but here's what I'll tell you, Ronnie. This is really funny. And Jason taught me this. He said, Sedge, you're a rarity. I'm a rarity. Ronnie, the people we hang out are rarities. We make videos. And you remember what I used to do? I used to go and click when somebody gave me a bad comment, which is I'm not bragging. It's kind of rare. It's getting a little more popular as the
Yeah.
audience grows on YouTube.
Yeah,
But
that's exactly right. As it grows,
but
it get more.
but when I see that, I go and I look at and they don't have any videos at all,
Right.
and they have two subscribers. Probably one of them is them, and the other one is their mother.
Yeah.
And I joke around about it, but I thought about this, and I was watching a TED talk once, And this wonderful lady got up there and she was devastated. And she was talking about reading the comments and how brutal they were to her. And then she saw a video, and it was recorded in April in France by a very famous person. And it's a very long speech, but there's a segment of it. And it was in 1910. And I listened to it quite a bit. I listened to it today. It's called Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt. And I tell anybody who gets upset from people making comments or people being rude to them or in public or just anything, people talking down to them. Okay. Go listen to Man in the Arena. You can catch it. There's voice people narrating Teddy's speech. But I think about that, and he read this at some accord in France, and it basically says shame on you. You're not even in the arena with this person who's
Yeah,
willing to put themselves on the line, blood, sweat, and tears.
that's a very good point. That's so true.
You're not even in the same goddamn league as these people willing to share their knowledge, their woodworking knowledge, their remodeling knowledge,
Hmm.
their any kind of knowledge out there. And you know
You
what? It is amazing how perfect that is today in people creating content on YouTube. You got to have thick skin,
Yeah, you do.
you
And
know?
you know what's interesting? I never thought of until just now. When I was on Instagram, when I was on Instagram, that tells you how much I'm posting on Instagram lately. When I was on Instagram, like posting 2 to 3 times a day for
Yeah.
probably a year and a half, um, I used to get so like hurt over the comments, and then I finally got over it to the point of where I was numb. But it's neat to think about when you go on a different platform, you see it as a different person because the comments on YouTube bothered me for a long time, and then just recently I'm able to just kind of laugh at whatever comes away. But I think you see each platform as a different person. Like you get to
Yes.
the point where you're like, Instagram, all your comments are mean and I don't care about it anymore. It doesn't bother me. But then you go to YouTube and it's the exact same video and you're getting the same kind of, I mean, you're like, oh no, this one hurts because it's coming from the YouTube audience. It's a different group of people. But you're going to get it from anybody, especially when something is viewed, highly viewed, you're going to get the negative. You're going to. That's just a fact.
and and I'll take it back to the boat building one, Ronnie. Your video, and think about that one person that reached out with pictures and you sent that email to me and I read it and it's worth it, every bit of it, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And since then, I had another one this last weekend, and it said, I think I may have told Jason this last weekend. Last week, he said, I built a boat. I built this boat 60 years ago, and this brought me back. And that was
Isn't
cool.
that great?
That was cool. He built the same boat 60 years, and he has no pictures of it probably. There's probably, if he's lucky, if there's a picture of it in the water, you know? And so
Yeah.
I'm sure it's cool for him to see that again because he saw it with his own eyes at one time. That's kind of
Yeah.
very cool.
I get emails from a gentleman. His name's Ron, and he said, Sedge, he goes, when do you have time? Where do you find the time? And I said, I thought about it, and I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast. I have always loved woodworking. When I didn't even know I did,
Hmm.
I just did it as a kid, and I have such a passion for it. I couldn't wait to get back in the shop. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, I couldn't wait to see Chris this past weekend. We worked both days and we had so much daggone fun. And God, it's so much fun to teach this. I, and so here I am, and I kind of live a cloistered life. And I say this because I don't get out much these days. And I'm at the festival shop like today was freaking awesome. I worked with a bunch of prototype tools. And then we had a couple meetings on a few things. And then, you know, I, and then I have a shop at home. And it's kind of cloistered. I'm with Chris and we're shooting video and we're teaching people stuff. But then I go out to like a trade show. And you should have heard some of the stories. And I think I'm just screwing around and having fun. But my God, I met this one lady from Maine, and what a wonderful lady. And she told me I cost her a lot of money, and you know, but and I went to go shake her hand. She goes, "Come here and give me a hug," you know.
That's
And she
awesome.
goes, "You don't know you're inspiring." And I go, "I said, I just don't know. I
Mhm.
just love I love woodworking, and hopefully people listening, I know you do. I know you like woodworking. I know you like to be in that shop. Um, don't ever get dragged down by it. Walk away for a week or two, then
Mhm.
come back in. Don't get frustrated with it. Have fun, enjoy the journey. We all
Yeah.
get a little burnt out on things,
Yeah.
but sometimes you just need to walk away for a few minutes, walk away for a week or two, walk away for a month.
Yeah.
But geez, if you really like it, just keep going and keep learning and have fun. That's the name of the game. And somebody said, you just don't get sick of it. I go, I got longevity. I
Hmm.
don't know what else to do. And I just, it's fun. And Chris is such a hoot, you know. He's such a good kid, and I love doing it. And so I didn't mean to stammer on and go
No,
on and
no,
on
I'm
and on
I'm
and
with
on,
you.
but
I'm same. I think it's good too to take a break. Sometimes we take a break on the boat for like over a week, and it just feels right, and then we jump back in again. It's sometimes that's just you have to do it, or it starts not being fun.
I got a question. I thought about this. This weekend, thinking about podcast topics and what we should talk about, and we just go freewheeling with it. But
Hmm.
I like. Here's one for you because I kind of just did a little prelude to it. You ever walk out in a shop and you just, where do I start? And I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. I know Jason experiences. You kind of like, where do I start today?
Hmm.
How do you? Is it? I'm sure that happens to you. How do you get started sometimes?
Just with the process of building something or doing of
Oh,
creating, or I didn't know if you were talking about layout or if you were talking about getting ready to do a project.
getting ready to getting started on a project. You get all your ducks in a row, but sometimes I get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Where do I start?
Well, I know the biggest thing for me, I had to do it this week. Sometimes it's overwhelming the amount that has to be done. And I've tried to fragment or segment it in my brain to
Hmm.
say, okay, the most that I can possibly do is this today. So my goal is going to be to get to this today. And I may finish at 3, I'm done for the day. And that also makes me not get into too much where I make a big mistake. Because I've said before on the
Uh,
podcast, I learned it by experience. After 3 o'clock, if I'm still working, I double check everything because my
yep,
dad and I, when we were working together, and he was helping out with whatever and doing my electrical on job sites, he noticed, he said, have you ever noticed that we always make the mistakes after 3? Like drilling, cutting the wrong length panel, drilling a hole in the wrong place. It always happens after 3. So I try
absolutely.
to schedule my job as if I can to be done around 3-ish range. That's what I try.
So you were in a few of the end user classes with me. Did you ever
Yeah.
see like between 2 and 3? I'd go, "Hey, everybody!" I would do a little teaching. I go, "Okay, hang on before you go back to your tables. We're getting tired now.
I
We're
do
gonna
remember you
double
saying
check
that.
everything because all the mistakes happen between now and 4:30.
Yeah, so you know that much better than anybody else. I forgot about that. I remember you saying that always.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
funny.
and if you need to walk away, because I've been pushing you pretty good today, because we needed to be at this point. We're going to hit. If you need to go walk away and go do instead of taking a piss, go do a bio break or whatever.
Hmm.
I guess that's a politically correct way of saying it.
Bio break.
A bio break,
Yeah.
right? Gonna go take a whiz, but I don't think that's a dirty word, whiz. I don't know.
No, 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 no.
No,
Oh,
but it's just so here's a little thing that I do. If I'm building something or I'm trying to get warmed up in the morning, get my mind. I call it my power of 10. I put 10 things away that I might have left out the night before. My power of 10 at the end of the night is I put away 10 things before I go in, and then I do 10. Do I always do that? No. But I like to, it's like, how do I get charged up again to get going and see where I'm going to go?
I've been a lot better with it. I'd say the last year or two. When I'm ready to leave, I try to walk around and put up all the things that have a place just where, even though I'm going to use those exact same things tomorrow on that bench, I'd
Yep.
rather it just go back up again because it just seems like it's amazing how fast things get out of whack when you're being super productive. It's crazy how much will be just everywhere.
Especially those doors. I bet your stuff was everywhere, huh?
The door. Oh, it was. Yeah, we kind of We set it up right by the MFT in my corner, and we
Yeah.
pretty much were there. But the floor had scraps cut off where all the
Oh, yeah.
guillotine ends, and there was just it was a decent amount of cleanup afterwards with just picking up and all the tools and stuff that we had. We had a little circle formation going, but
Yeah.
that was yeah. I think that's the overwhelming thing. I feel like most of the things I take on are that kind of thing where it keeps you up at night. But I have learned from my brain the best thing is to segment it out into the steps and try not to even think about the next steps.
Yeah. Huh.
But saying that, before I do that, I make sure I think out the entire project and know that
Oh,
that first step, what is it going to play? You always got to know the end result. And like a lot of what Jason's doing with that kitchen is that you've got to know your end result. You can't just wait till the end to think about some of the things.
oh, yeah. You got to think things through.
So I'll
Absolutely.
probably usually I'll spend longer than I should thinking it over in my head, and then I think I do it so much in my head that sometimes on the day one when I'm doing the step one, I even think to myself, I haven't even started this project yet, but I feel like I did.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That miter saw stand, I walked out, and I guess this is where it's kind of emanating from. I walked out in the morning. I go, I got to edge band all of this today.
Yeah, and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, and then I got to leave some so we can shoot the process tomorrow.
Hmm.
And I need to be here by the end of the day. And I just was like, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden I said, who else is going to do it?
yeah.
you,
That's
you made a commitment, and I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden you get into it and you get into rhythm. I put my pods in, I have a podcast going, and Marianne knows now to when she walks out, wants my attention, she flicks the lights, which I really like.
that's good.
That works, yeah. So I'm just so excited for this summertime to start. It was sleeting at lunch today.
Oh, really? We actually pretty decent. Like I think it was. I took my jacket off. I was working outside with a hoodie on, and it was comfortable in the shade.
Yeah.
So it must be a big difference in the weather
It was
right
cold
now.
as heck it was like 38 and we
Oh,
started to
wow.
see little sleet balls coming down
Wow.
when
Yeah,
I went to get my donkey at lunch.
you're definitely on the tail end of that. They can't keep going for that much longer. Gosh. That's Hey, I just now you said miter stand and it reminded me of something. I'm gonna ask you a did you know? And I know you knew this. You maybe did, but if not, you should have told me. I found out something accidentally today out of laziness. I had my miter saw set up with a stand, my Capex, the battery powered one. I had it set up, and I had my saw set up right to the left of it. And I was cutting short things, so I didn't get my extension out. Well, I brought one long thing up, and I was like, I've got to get one side out. And I happened to just put it up on the top of the cart that comes with this, whether you buy with the CSC, with the flip part, the dolly. And the top of the dolly is exactly the height of the saw.
Yeah,
And
I
I just
found
stood
that out.
there and I was like, I just stood there and I just started smiling for a second because I figured it out accidentally. I was
Yeah,
putting up
well,
there and I thought, how far off will this be if I just let that support the end? It was dead on.
I found out accidentally too, and we
That
don't
is
talk
so
about it,
cool.
but it actually falls in.
Well, Cameron showed up right after that and I was like, let me show you something. I was like, you see this? I was like, you see
Yeah,
that? And he
this
goes, no way. He goes, I bet that was on purpose. I said, it absolutely was on purpose.
Garrett just sent me something that was really cool. It's with it just works out on the new rollerboard or sis cart, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
see if I can find it as we're talking. But we're always finding things and passing them back and forth. Where sometimes when we see a new tool and a new system come in, we're like, I bet you that lines up. I bet you that lines up. I bet you
It,
that lines up.
you're right. I mean, I've ran into it before with the sustainers. I figured out accidentally a long, long time ago. I was looking for something to support my trim while I had my plug-in Capex on the floor, and I just grabbed a sustainer and put it up there. I was like, "This looks like about the right height." And I was like, "It's exactly the right height. Is that on purpose?"
Oh, that's what it was. Listen to this. He takes a M137, an M187, and a 437, and it's basically a Cis Air on a Cis cart with a 187, 137, and it lines up perfectly the height of the MFT.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
And
it's
by the
not.
way, I'd be willing to bet that was a mistake, and he
Mhm.
stacked them up, and he was in his training area, and he went, "Oh, I got to show Sedge this."
That's. I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure it's. I guess that sometimes the dimensions just work out because maybe they stay on variables
Well,
of each other.
yeah, well, it was more prominent, and I did a whole series of these prior to the Festool Live. I did them on Festool Sedge, which is now Sedge Tool Tips on Instagram, and I would stack them, but it wasn't with it's not the same now with the new Generation 3. There's barely anything that adds up. The
Mm,
ones that added up were the T locks,
right.
and there was a whole system of stacking them to get them even. And I would go,
Yeah.
"Oh, that'll work. Oh, that'll work." And I'd do a Festool Sedge on. It was kind of cool.
That really that was impressive, and that's something I could use knowing that because sometimes you don't. That's quicker to get out than stand sometimes and just set it up that quickly.
Yep.
So that was a good one. And the other one that I noticed is first time I've used it in direct bright sun, and I know it was not by accident that it has a white backlit LED display because I was thinking if it was any other color I would have had trouble seeing it. You know, if it was a blue or a black background with white writing. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that was not by accident that it is a color screen with a white background
Yeah.
because you could see it in direct sunlight, no problem at all. Sun shining
On that
straight from the screen.
CSC, right? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that was impressive. So the more I use that saw, the more I love it. I mean, it's all about like you got to trust a tool first, you know, and then once you know it, you're just dialing in it. Like first, I was like second guessing the fence. You know, I'd be like, let me check it just to make sure. Oh, it is.
Hmm. Yeah, we were going over something today. There was like four of us, and I go, "Look right here," because I was sitting low and looking at something, and I went, and everybody went, "Oh, that's cool." I'm marking
That's
on
neat.
something, and I go, "Now look at this," and I go, "Oh, that's cool." And then all of a sudden, check this out, and I went, "Oh, that's even cooler. That's why."
That's
You know,
neat.
because we get stuff sometimes, and it's pre-production.
Mhm. And they
There's
may not
no
be
owner's
green,
manual that hasn't
and
been scored
and
yet.
some of the buttons aren't green yet that tell you what
Yeah,
to do. Yeah,
but and there's no owner's manual. We just get it. We have to, mess with it, and but it's cool.
that's neat.
It makes you. That's always when we have I call them bull sessions like that with trainers and product management and development, and we're spitballing some stuff and talking about it and messing around. It really invigorates me.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, it's
Very
fun.
cool.
That's a great part of the job, because
Yeah.
you may have an insight that they don't, and they have insights you don't, and you go, and then I'll listen to why it didn't include this or why this is on there,
Hmm.
and then you think, oh, it's a different product that they use in a different country,
Hmm.
and okay, I get it now, and it helps me like in 2 or 3 years when I finally see it, I get a train on it. I
Hmm.
have that background on it of the development
Yeah,
stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
that's neat. That was my favorite part about working for Toyota, the corporate
Yeah.
headquarters.
Yeah,
I knew
huh?
about things. I knew about cars 12 years out.
That is freaking
Yeah.
crazy. That is so
Well,
awesome.
yeah. It makes you really give a real perception that when people think they got a new car, they don't realize they got
I never thought of that, Ronnie. That's kind
that
of
we've got,
cool.
you know, we have a code name for each car, and the new car would be three back from, you know, the
Yeah.
you're already on that one. And the record one would be the 12 or 13 years out. That was a Lexus LFA. And they
Hmm.
just released that probably like, was it like 4 years ago, 5 years ago? It's the supercar Lexus has. They had
Hmm.
it done and designed when I was there. That was, I mean, that was like, we're talking like 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And they released that car. It was done. They were waiting for the right time to launch it. Market conditions have to be right, all that, and it's not worth it if you can't sell a certain amount. So they were just sitting on it. They went through the
Wow.
slowdown in the 2008, 2009 time. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing how far out. I've told Cameron before, they're probably two iPhones ahead of
Oh
where we are
no.
right now.
100%.
They are already out that far. And every time that you go to buy one, you're buying the old phone, no matter what.
Yeah, I
Even
know.
if the new one just came
Com-
out.
Computers, same thing. I got to be careful because I do see some stuff and people ask me, hey, should I get this or is there a new one coming out? And I'll say, I don't know. And I really don't. They don't tell me a lot anymore. Um, uh, but I always say this. I go, uh, people get upset because they buy something and, a year or 2 years down the line, we come out with something a little bit better, like a Traxxar, like the TS60. And I,
Hmm.
I just look at them, I go, you own a computer? That
Hmm.
changes every 6 months. And shame on
Right.
us if we don't innovate our tools.
Right. And shame on them if they don't just go out and upgrade, buy the new one.
Well, you know what I got to be careful, but I say put it on eBay,
Yeah.
put it on Craigslist.
Yeah.
You're going to sell it probably about less
Close.
than a little close.
Yeah. It won't be far off. Somebody just wants a little bit of a deal, you know.
I, Usually you're going to sell it for 10% less than what you bought new.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Hold their value.
Yeah, it's kind of like I used to say to my dad when I was growing up, why does he have that very expensive German car called Mercedes Benz? And my dad goes, it holds its value.
Hmm.
And it did. 5 years later, he sold it for pretty much what he got.
Hmm.
I was one of his
Hmm.
business partners.
That's what
And
the RV we bought had a Mercedes Sprinter front end on it. And we sold
yeah,
it for what we paid for it like 3 years later. And that was the plan. Like for example, like an RV with a Ford front end on it, for example, the
yeah,
depreciation is, just goes down really fast, but that it helps having that front end because people know they're made to go. Oh, speaking of that, I was thinking about diesel and it made me think of electric cars. Our Amazon fleet the other day, I was in front of the building, the big, huge, massive blue white, and I happened to
yeah.
be at a light where they were all just going out for the morning, and all of the sides of the van says, "I'm electric, boogie woogie woogie."
Really?
Yes.
Hey, I was trying to, I was trying to remember. Was it I forget what vans you were telling me, but there's something where their doors get jacked on one side.
Yes, it's Amazon vans.
It is.
The passenger side always has massive, massive dents between the two wheels. Like somebody kicked it with the guardrail, like just up and down, usually vertical. And we started noticing they're all in the same places, like the damaged spots, like right over the driver's on the tall roof ones, right over the driver's window. There's always place where tree limbs and stuff, they're hitting things because they don't realize how tall they are. But somebody can market to Amazon like guards for vans because they damage them in exactly the same places. It's very
Why?
interesting, especially if you're ever out and when they're going out of their facility and they're back to back as they're
Yeah.
pulling out, you'll see it. It's like same place.
But what are
Same.
they? What are they hitting? Why are they hitting?
It's got to be a process problem when they come back to that warehouse, either where they're getting loaded or the people who maybe service them at night or something. Something is doing that so regularly to the same places on the vans. It's so clear. They've switched in ours now to Rivians. Those are the funny looking vans that aren't the
Yeah.
ones you're familiar with. Those are
Yeah.
built on a Rivian truck. Those are
Oh.
the ones that all say I'm electric boogie woogie woogie on the side of
Oh
it.
my God.
It's kind of funny when they go out. They've got the little lights on. It says it on the side. Oh, it's funny.
That's a company, dude.
It is. It is.
Huge.
I'm becoming
Huge.
more and more what do you call it, reliant on Amazon. The
Same.
level of things I buy now are to the point of that I will bring up my phone while Kelly's telling me, and I'll have it hit order while she's still explaining to me what she wants me to get for this or that, and it's already ordered. I'm done,
Yep.
and
Same.
the convenience of that is unbelievable.
Yep. Same
It,
with Marianne and I. It's about time. It's about our time.
yes.
And we get upset when we go there and they don't have it,
Mm-hmm.
or we get somebody who's just lame and is rude. And you say
Yep.
hi and they go, huh, whatever.
Yep.
It's just,
Yep.
I,
They're just it's harder and harder to go to the brick and mortar store. Perfect example. I went to my local hardware store place, and I was planning on not ordering the Rubio things that I needed not long ago. And do you know what they had on the shelf? They had three sample jars that they give us when we go to our Rubio event. They had three
yeah,
color samples on the shelf. That was it. That was it. Nothing
you
else.
got to be kidding me.
Nothing else. And I was like, I'm trying to get things low, like help out, but that's all they had.
But then, but then I've gotten sick of that now. I hate saying it,
I know.
but
That's
I
the
go to
same.
certain places and they don't have it.
I know. I know. It's
I can order it for you. I go, yeah, I'm going to go
no,
order it in your parking lot.
that's what they all say. I can order it for you. That's what they all say. Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's so nice to be able to order exactly. And I always do the same thing. I always make sure that, there's the seller and make sure there's not any issues. And I have not had it's amazing. It shows up a lot of times next day now, which is crazy. And I couldn't get
I
to town to buy it myself.
So I got a new one, Ronnie.
What's
I
that?
ordered something at 4:30 in the morning. It was here at 8 in the morning.
Oh, my friend in Cincinnati told me we're not there yet. So it makes sense. Indy has it and Cincy has it. I think right now with the two of the Amazon facilities I know that are being built around us, I think they're getting to that for us. But
It's crazy.
we are at best right now by like mid afternoon, early afternoon. I can kind of expect to get it the next day. Um, but yeah, that is crazy. You know what blows my mind though? You told me some Amazon stories that I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. Madison has a thing that whenever she goes to like a fraternity sorority thing, she gets a black flask on Amazon and Cameron monograms it for her on the laser machine. That's her gift to the guy. You're supposed to give them like a gift. It's a great one because the flasks are $6. They're
Yeah.
$6. They're stainless steel black, and you can laser off, and it becomes the silver, letters. But I go out there and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just go to my orders and I typed in flask. That's another thing I like. It brought it up and said, this is what
Yep.
you bought a year ago
Yep.
or whatever. And I just hit order. I just hit order. And I sat there and thought for a second. I was like, okay, it's coming the next day. That means somewhere around me, there's a warehouse that there's a flask sitting on a
Yes.
shelf.
Yep.
And they're like,
With
hey,
your name on it.
he ordered the flask. Get it out to him. Get it out to him. And sometimes you order the weirdest things and you're like, how do they know? And they have those
Yes.
stocked like a day away. They've got them stocked. It just blows my mind. It really does.
Yeah. It's
That,
because if you click on it and show interest, they're going to ship it to the local one near you because they hope or they know you're going to eventually buy it, especially when you hit save for later.
yeah. But that mind blowing that they can even do that? That's like pre shipping before it even ships. It's, but I guess by doing that, they probably have recognized that beach balls all seem to go to Florida, and they start
Oh
going,
yeah.
okay, we want to stock more of these here because we get more requests for it,
Yep.
or different type of local type things. Like I'm sure up north in Florida buys more boating things than around where I am. So that's why I've noticed when I order things that are marine related or things, it'll say 2 days. It's not the next
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yep.
But that kind of system is just unbelievable that exists.
And we're two people. That works for everybody
Yeah,
on the
it's
planet.
not just us. It works as a global system, and that's just mind-boggling. That's
People don't
impressive.
realize how big it is.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah,
Very
it's
impressive.
I'm impressed with it. But guess what? You know what I like?
What?
It saves me time.
Yeah, that time is the best, and you're getting the right thing. You have a
Yeah.
higher chance of getting the right thing and not going to the store and getting the wrong thing and finding out,
So,
unless you have somebody that can help you. But that's rare in a store now.
you know how I keep saying it's about my time, it's about my time. It always has been. And I read some an article by somebody once and he said, I don't have a commute anymore. And I thought about that and I used to have a commute and why do we get frustrated? Because we're sitting there and it's dead time. And we could be with our family, we could be in our wood shop, and you that's where that frustration of traffic comes in and commute
Hmm.
time comes in. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, huh, it's about wasting that precious thing that we're not going to get back, and that's our time. And
Yes,
every time I go home and I'm around family and friends that I grew up with, you know, and I realized this past time I'm not going to get into it, but oh boy, has time flown,
uh, I'm totally
and
with.
I have family and friends that are now entering into their 80s and they're suffering from Alzheimer's. And it was quite the eye opener when I was in Maine and Lowell. And it just it it was quite the eye opener. But I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's nothing that shows you how time until you see people that are older than you and see them in a totally different stage and you realize how short time is because you remember when they were just like what you are now. It's hard.
Yes, Ronnie,
Yeah.
100%. That's
Yeah. It
better
sets
than
the
I.
time.
That's better than I've. Because guess what? You, our families, are on that path to
Oh,
get
yeah.
to where they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And I've,
it's hit me so hard that Kelly's dad was my age when I met him and he
yeah,
just passed away at 81 years old. And I
yeah.
think back, Kelly and I just have been together not that long, but it's long enough for me to go from 50 to 81.
Hello,
I'm
hello.
like, does that math? I'm like
Oh
50
God.
plus about 30. Yeah, that's 80. That's 80 years old. Yeah. And that blows my mind. And it just shows
Ah,
you how fast time goes on
what
to
an
the
eye
point.
opener.
But you know what? It sounds like you're the same place I am mentally right now. It's to the point in some ways I'm like, I really would like to do like add on to this part of the shop, for example. I'm like, but do I even have time? Is it even worth it anymore? I've been thinking like that lately. I'm like, what do I have? Another 15 years in the shop?
Hey,
I'm just I know you're going to tell me your age now.
hey. Well, according to the Fuzz Nuts, I'm 100 years old.
Well, I mean, they always say like 75 lifespan thing, and I'm thinking, gosh, if that's true, but it's not because people live longer, people live shorter, whatever. But I feel like I'm finally starting to get to the age where I actually even think about, is it worth like how much longer I'm going to be working on this or working with this, for it to matter. I have been thinking that I think for the first time in my life, the
We
last
are.
year or two.
We are in the same mindset, Ronnie.
Yeah, and I think maybe
Yeah.
part of it is Cameron's getting ready to be like kind of a
Yep.
full timer, and I
Yep.
start thinking, do I really want to be? Is it, So yeah, it's interesting, but seeing people getting older and passing away really reminds you of that.
Yeah. And we're on that path to be there ourselves. So for me, my realization is quality of life. And I really think I've done my due diligence health wise, I think. And I've had a lot of discussions with friends here, uh, locally at work. And and they're on the same path too.
Hmm.
It's gotta start thinking about as we get up in age to make sure that it is a good quality of life.
Yes, because I may have brought it up before, but Kelly's grandmother, who didn't really talk much on her dad's side, I was sitting once and kind of just talking to her a little bit at Thanksgiving. There's like 50 people there, but she's just really quiet and to herself. and we were talking about Europe and all of her travels that she went with her husband once she was in her like mid 70s. They started
Hmm.
mid early to mid 70s. They started traveling, and she was telling me about Europe or something, and she just kind of sat there, and it's like she thought for a second because he'd been gone for like 12 years before this, and she said, she goes, I wish so much that we started traveling earlier. She goes, I wish we did. She goes, we had our health and we would have been able to like, walk around more. We would have been able to do that. And this is when I was like in my 20s or so. And I told Kelly on the drive home, I said, do you know what your grandmother said? I said, we need to remember that. And we need to make sure that we don't wait until too late to travel. I think that's a common thing that I hear people say. So we're trying to
All the
remember that.
time.
Trying to remember that, especially the places that people say they'll go their whole life, like a Europe like type trip
Yes.
or somewhere like to Egypt or somewhere like that. You want
Hmm.
to be young enough to enjoy it. You don't want to have
Yes.
to look for the where you can take the jazzy scooter to go see it.
Or you have to know what the next bathroom is on the next
Yeah,
stop.
yeah, exactly. So I've reminded her of that, and we've tried to travel because of that little statement that she said just to me. It's like I never forgot it. I remember sitting there thinking, this woman's in her 80s, and what she's saying right now is like a big regret for her. I need to remember
Yes.
this. I need to remember. And with that same note, Kelly's dad worked, all the way up until the day he almost passed away on the farm. He never wanted to leave. A lot of times, family vacations, her mom would take them like to like a beach vacation because he said he didn't want to go. He works in the sun all the time, which is understandable. But he said he didn't want to take away from work. He wanted to work, work, work. And I don't think that he had regrets on the travel thing until he knew he had like just 2 months left. And he told Kelly, he said, I regret working as much as I did. And I regret her mom passed away 2 years ago. He said, I regret not working less while your mom was still alive. And so he had a big regret towards the end. Again, hearing that same thing. I'm like,
Hmm.
slow down while you still can enjoy it and travel when you can. Those are two things I'm hearing people say that they think about when they get to that age. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to be aware of that too.
Uh, I am too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's tough for
And you
me.
never, yeah, you never regret a trip. Almost, I mean, when do you ever say, I wish I didn't go, you know,
Yeah,
unless you
I
went.
when I first started with festival, I go, I don't need a vacation. You have to take one. I don't need a vacation. But I would always take off between Christmas and New Year's. And now, I take vacations, and uh, a lot of them are staycations, and I
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
a vacation. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, when I say take
It
trips, you can take
yeah,
trips to your own house, your own shop.
yep, yep. And that's, but what do I like to do, Ronnie? I like to woodwork. You could actually say I've been on vacation for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm really blessed. My daytime job is phenomenal.
I,
You
you
know,
know, and when I switched to what I like to do, doing the things that I build and that'd be like I think 16 years is June. 16, yeah. 16 years. There's times that I see it like a job and I don't want to do it, but I saw something not too long ago and it's so true. It said that the only reason why you ever don't want to be working is because you want to be somewhere else. And I was like, what? At first, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I thought, no, when I think about it, when I'm building something like woodworking or I'm working on a job site, the only reason why that I would not want to be there is because I want to be somewhere else. So whether
yeah,
that's being lazy, I want to be on the couch somewhere, or I wish I was at the pool while they were there or something. So it's like if you have the right attitude about it, like, and you realize that it's what you wanted to do, and you like it, it kind of you realize where that feeling's coming from. Um,
uh-huh.
it's just
Sometimes
interesting, you know?
sometimes it's sometimes your brain needs to be bored.
Yeah,
I just read
exactly.
a great article on boredom and the selling of boredom advertising and how different companies subliminally are saying how exciting their what product is. It eliminates boredom.
Mm-hmm.
and and the whole article went on and said, sometimes because of all the stuff that's hitting us from all different directions, whether from your phone, computer, the television, the radio, whatever, it's all coming in from different directions. And sometimes you just got to disconnect and have an hour of boredom every once in a while. and do
I
nothing.
yes, yes,
And
and
people have put such a negativity on boredom. But
what
that's
even
what,
the
yeah,
go ahead. I was going to say even the gas pumps. How ridiculous is
yes,
that? That
that
there's a
is
screen.
that's annoying.
I
That's
know I
annoying.
cannot stand those, but I'm thinking they think people they're like that's an advertising opportunity. They're standing there. Let's take their brain while they're pumping gas.
Yeah,
Let's let
yeah.
them take these subliminal advertisement, yelling, blaring. Oh, it's awful. But yeah, we're subjected to it all the time, and we have
So
no
when I
downtime.
when I'm at my sister's, there's sometimes because they like to watch television, I just go and I lay down on the couch and I'm reading my book and then I just close my eyes like, oh, this is nice. I'm bored.
Yes,
And
I
I
love
go,
the big word.
it's okay to be bored because, I was 100 miles an hour when I got
Yeah,
back, but your brain needs that disconnect. I
yeah.
think
If you
I
can
think we've
have,
talked, yeah.
yeah, I think if you can have the board for enough duration, it lets you handle extreme side stress better. It
Hmm.
makes a big difference. If you thought about your brain like a muscle, sometimes when you work it out, you got to take a break or you can't just keep going back into working out.
Yeah, you got to
And
give time for recovery. Yep.
yeah, and I think that's why I try to make my Mondays that way. I try to do Sundays as light as possible and Mondays I try to be around the shop and just take care of admin stuff that just lets my
Yeah.
brain not have to concentrate. And I like
Yeah.
doing that on Tuesday better, jumping into whatever
Mm,
it is that's hard.
mm.
That's
It's it's funny because when you do come back from some vacation time, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like struggling because that's nap time.
I know. And you're like, where's my nap?
Where's my goddamn nap?
I need my nap.
I need a week to get back into the rhythm.
Speaking of rhythm, I think I'm just now getting on the time zone change thing. It
Yeah, huh?
messes me up. It makes me
It,
not know what time it is. It messes up my whole rhythm. And I feel like it makes me also tired in the afternoon earlier.
okay, I got to tell you, that's I used to hear my parents say that. I used to hear all the old timers say that. And I think Ronnie, you and I are there because
I
it's
may be
it's getting worse with age.
the only thing I still think I'm superior on anybody else my age. No. I still stay up late regularly. I do. And I feel like I'm gonna be old when I'm just like, I can't stay up any later. Like you have a habit of going to bed early because you get up, you're on that cycle. But
Yep.
I'm talking about people that stay up regularly 10, 11 o'clock. When I start having to turn in at 8, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm old. I'm old now. But
It's just like sometimes it's just weird, but I always tell people, "Hey, come on, do the math. I may go to bed early, but I'm an early riser."
yeah, I know you're up at 4 or 5 in the morning every morning.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and okay, so I Mary Ann used to rag on me back and forth for a lot of. You going to bed? And I was like 9 o'clock. I thought that was pretty good.
Hmm.
And but I was up at 4, sometimes 3:30, and I go, do the math. I go to bed at 9. You come to bed sometimes 10, 11:30, but I'm up at 4. You get up at 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so don't bitch. She start laughing. Now, what's really cool is she's on my cycle
Oh, that's good.
because
That's
of
good.
Lowe's. She's in there at. She
Till
leaves the house at
9.
5 every morning, and you
Okay.
know what? She goes, "You're grumpy in the morning." I go, "I've always been grumpy until I get my coffee." She goes, "Oh, we just never saw it." I go, "Right."
That's
Because
funny.
the thing I like is that's my time. I take my time.
Hmm.
I'm waking up and I got a routine
Yeah.
that, boy,
Kelly's
you
that
take
way.
me out of it, I'm out of sorts.
Yeah. Kelly has to get up, try usually before the sun comes up. She has a certain place she sits on the couch while she has her coffee and she wants to see the sun come up in that far window. And that's what she does every morning. And she's on consistent with that. She likes to go to sleep earlier than me. But that's the issue if I go to bed too early, I wake up the alternative on the other side. So if I fall
Yeah.
asleep at 9 because I'm tired, I'm waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning. It's not good. And once I wake up, I'm not going back to sleep.
Yep.
I
Same.
cannot. I
And me
cannot
either.
imagine. I don't see how people can do it. They wake up, what was that noise? And they go back to sleep. I can't do that. I don't have that firmware.
It's
I'm
funny as
up.
heck.
I'm up. Oh, it's crazy. But
Okay, so
do
I got to
you?
tell you. I got to
Go
tell you
ahead.
another old man story. I know this is off topic, but I had a buddy at Festool who used to say, God, daggone it. Rah, 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 rah." He goes, You're traveling too much. When you get to be my age, you're not going to want to travel. And I go, Isn't it cool though? I'm going everywhere.
Oh,
I'm
business
traveling.
travel. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going everywhere. Look at all the points I'm getting. And oh, it's awesome. And he goes, Boy, you're going to get to that point. So I was on the phone with him Monday. He goes, He's retired. He's out in Arizona and he's living the life of Riley. And he just looks at, he pauses on the phone. He goes, Boy, it sounds like you're mean. He goes, You've reached that point. And I go, Yeah, I
That's
have.
funny.
I'm okay with it though.
Yeah. It's good. It's good in a certain amount. It's when you do it a lot, it gets old really quick. But it's good. It's
And,
sometimes it's a nice break, but too much is
and,
not good.
I'm not medallion anymore on Delta or anything. And I go, That's a good feeling
Yeah. Not
because that means I'm not traveling. I could care
right.
less,
Right.
you know?
Yep. I'm definitely all about. I'd be okay with just going to the house and shop pretty much full time, just going back and
Yeah.
forth. And there's really, I can get on Amazon for anything I need. So there I
Yeah.
go.
But so the other thing with travel, and I say this to Marianne all the time, I come home and I just cannot stop hugging her. And she goes, What? When early days, she would go, What? What's going on? I go, Honey, you know how lucky when you get out and you see life outside of your routine and you realize, Holy crap, are we lucky? And my parents taught me, and I say this every single morning, count your blessings. And
Yeah.
I am so lucky to have, what I do for a living, career, what I have for a business, what I have for my family. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, but I say it all the time, Ronnie, there's so many hurting people out there.
Mhm.
Oh, I tell everybody if you haven't traveled in a while, go sit at a gate for 8 hours in a airport and
Yeah.
understand the smell and how disgusting and wackadoodle people are.
Yeah. Everybody's got their perks and you get to see it all at the airport.
Oh, and then you walk into one of the bathrooms and people aren't
Oh,
washing their hands and
oh, it's awful.
oh,
Yeah.
so enjoy that travel. I'm done.
Yeah. Madison went to New Orleans last weekend and
Oh, cool.
she's going again this weekend. So you talking about
Wow.
frequent travel. She was if you go to that's New Orleans. Oh, for anyone's listening, I'm in Kentucky. That's a 10-hour, 12-hour drive or a flight. So she flew to New Orleans for like this sorority fraternity thing. And she's like, I called her and asked her, I was like, well, I'm glad you got away. She's like, well, I'm going again on Friday. And I was like, you mean next week? And she goes, yep, there's another one. I was invited to another one. So she's going to go 2 weekends in a row on a plane to a trip. That would just wear me out thinking about that.
Holy moly. Me too.
Yeah. But I guess, like you said, maybe that's another getting older thing.
My parents would always say, enjoy it when you're young.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. But we're
Too
all
cool,
getting
Ronnie.
older. What's that?
Too cool.
Well,
Too cool. Hey,
I guess,
did we have any administrative stuff? I think we announced Beers of the Boys is on the 18th.
yeah, that was good to make sure everybody remembers that. I think we're going to hold off on, where was the thing? I was bringing it up. Uh, yep, I think that's all we have for that.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. I was just making
Cool.
sure on that one message.
Wow.
We're
I just
good.
I just looked up at the clock, Ronnie. So I
Yep,
mentioned it.
yep. It's already time. It's
So
already time.
it's just funny, man. I get a kick out of this podcast. I really do.
Yeah,
Because it's I'm hanging out with a couple of friends and we get a bunch of people listening who've become friends. So thank you
yes,
everybody for
very much
listening.
so. Very much so.
Yeah,
And thank
Ronnie and I were talking before how tight this community is.
Yes, I was telling him about all the support and messages that I've seen regarding my father-in-law, and it's been very amazing, and just the group that we've built. I think I'm closer with people on that group than I am with my neighbors. You know, I know them better, and they live all over the world, and it's really cool. It's
It
cool.
is cool. It is cool.
Yeah, it's just really neat. So we'll have that on the 18th, you said?
Yep.
Eight,
Friday the 18th. I'm just double checking because Bent was texting us today.
yeah, I think that was it. I looked on there and I scanned on there.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. And he says he's going to post it on Discord too for the patrons.
Awesome.
All right. I think we should wrap it up, Ronnie.
Yeah, I think so. And then we're also, it's kind of interesting. I think the last one and this one, and then the following one, we've actually ran out of time to talk about the like your all's time at JLC. We're
Yeah.
waiting for that. So the next one, hopefully, we'll be talking about JLC with all of us on there, and then you also can tell us about your main trip after JLC. And I know Jason's going to have a lot of updates on his kitchen, and
Yo,
we're going to have a lot of updates on the next one. If we all three can be there at the same time, there's going to be a
God,
lot of things.
I haven't seen Jason in forever.
Yeah, well, we'll have a lot to catch up on. So they need to
Cool.
make sure that they follow up on the next one. If you haven't heard us before, start at one, work your way forward, like every one of them, comment 4 times.
Hey, and if you listen on Spotify and Apple, hey, write us a review. We really appreciate it.
Yes, and we read every one of them, and we text them around the group to make sure everybody saw them.
Yes. And if
So
you're a patron, make sure you get on Discord because that's a hell of a community there too.
yes, it's very active and a place to get your questions answered by experts
Yes,
who know more than you do because you're not ready yet.
that's right. Hey, Ronnie, I think that's it. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
No, bye bye.
Bye
I'm
bye.
going to tell you right now, Jason's listening and editing. He's going to go bye bye.
Yeah, he needs to do it. He said he was going to do it last time. He needs to just go bye bye.
Bye bye. That's a wrap. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. So, do we leave now?
I was going to ask you the same thing. I'm like sitting there going, is he going to push it? I'm going to push it.
Oh God, I really, I got to tell you, it's funny, Ronnie. Jason, you're listening to this now. Obviously, we're going to be off the air, but I was going to talk about the 32 hours I was awake, and I don't want to. It
I,
was
I,
it was 100% a nightmare trying to get back from Providence to
that
um,
sounds like it. I think about that time that Cameron and I both flew back from Texas after that build off, and then we were
yeah.
in Vegas for that
Oh, that's
layout
right.
all night. And I think we were up for 26, 27 hours, and I was delirious. I couldn't eat. I was nauseous, like and I hadn't ate all day. It messed me up. I couldn't
Guess
even
what I
think
had to
right.
guess what I had to do the last 4 hours of the 32 hours?
What?
Drive home from Detroit.
Oh, gosh. That is a nightmare. Was it weather related?
Uh-huh. Because of
Oh,
the storms
man.
going through here. And I had an extra $400 in bills that
Oh, man.
out of
God.
pocket.
Yeah, you need to definitely go over that story. I want to hear the whole thing on the next one. That was accidental, but we could start doing that. We could start giving people a reason to listen to the next one. That's so easy.
It is.
And all we do is just don't finish what we're talking about.
Yep.
You know,
And you know what?
like,
Jason may include this conversation. Bye-bye.
bye bye. No, no, really. I mean, I think that it would help me when I listen to a podcast, instead of thinking I'm getting into a whole new thing, it's almost like it's just a continuation, you know?
Yep.
Because that's what it is anyway when we're catching up with each other.
I think the beauty of this podcast is just three friends talking, but the people listening have become our friends.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's pretty damn cool.
And I'm realizing that more and more
Yeah,
recently. It's just
for
really
sure.
cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Well,
All right, Ronnie, you haven't even
yeah.
had dinner, have you?
No, I'm going to meet them. Kelly just texted me. They're going to the Mexican place, and Madison's going to actually meet us there. So that's cool.
Oh, wicked cool.
I get to see
Okay.
her maybe once a week now. So I appreciate it now when I get to see her.
Yes, sir.
So
All
they're
right.
heading there actually right now. And I guess I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Bye.
Later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.